Alright guys, welcome back. We're with part 3 of the sales framework. Where we last left off, you need to watch the past 2 videos so you get an understanding of what we were talking about. But the first video, we were just going over the sales framework, and then the second video, we were going over some objections. And then in the third video, we're going to go over the last 2 objections, which is basically the partner objection and the fear objection. I saved these for a separate video because they are quite long. It takes a couple of times to memorize them. And even then, you shouldn't be memorizing it. You should, as soon as you have downloaded it in your brain, you should be able to just say it very naturally to the prospect whenever you're on a call, and that should help them jump over the line. So let's get straight into it. The partner objection, ideally with a couple things. This is a funny objection because it's kind of not in your control, but at the same time it is. And so the best thing you can do here before getting to the objection handle is by pre-qualifying or pre-handling the objection. The pre-handling the objection basically means handling it before it even arises. So the way you do that is through things like your booking form. You can have an option saying, does your partner or business partner or does anyone need to be on the call who makes the final decision? And then from there on, you can choose whether to let them on the call. You can get them to send the link to the partner. You can get them to do a bunch of things. So that makes sure that both of them are on the call, including the decision maker, so they can actually move forward when you try and close them. Another thing you can do is just cancel the call or get them to reschedule if they need a partner on board. It depends on how you want to approach it, but that's one of the ways you can pre-handle it. The second thing you can do is early on in the conversation, as you're doing the sales framework, you could casually try and pre-handle it. You could just talk about, if they start talking about their life and then their partner and their business partner, stuff like that, and then one thing leads to another, they talk about how they make the final decision, then basically you've pre-handled the objection, and then you can dig deeper into that, ask them what they mean by that, and then from there on, if they really need to be on the call, then just reschedule, making sure that the partner is on the call next time. But if it comes to the end of the call where you're trying to close them, but they throw this partner objection at you, this is what you say. And a partner objection is going to come in a bunch of different ways. So things like, I need to speak to my wife about this, I need to speak to my husband about this, I need to speak to my business partner, I need to run things through with them, I need to do XYZ. They're all versions of the partner objection handle, and I'm sure you have enough high IQ to know which one if that is basically a partner objection handle. So the way you go about it is this. So you just ask, okay, cool. So can I ask, in your own opinion, before you go and sit down with your wife or whoever, do you feel like what we've gone through today can actually get you to XYZ result? So that's the first thing. You want to isolate it. Not isolate it, actually. You want to make sure that it's, okay, maybe isolating, but you want to just make sure that they have full conviction in your program, and it's not some sort of underlying fear or lack of conviction that's holding them back too, because if it is, it's going to make it very hard to move forward. So you just want to single that out. So it really is isolation first. So making sure that they're on board with the program, they believe in it, but it's literally just a partner causing problems. And then you ask, could I ask, like, why would you do it? So they say, yeah, it's literally just partner. Okay, cool. Like, well, why would you do it though? I just want to see where your head's at. And then that gets them to self-justify why they'd want to move forward. So that does 2 things. One, that gets them to sell themselves, which is very important in the sales dynamic, because you want to be up here in terms of status. They want to be slightly below you. So when they're trying to sell themselves, when they're trying to give a reason, they're basically subconsciously proving themselves to you, as opposed to the other way around, which how mediocre salespeople do is when they try and sell the program, they sell themselves to the prospect, and the prospect is basically the prize. You try and position yourself as the prize in a way. So that's the first thing of what the question does. And then the second thing is it gets them to believe in the program more. They can just easily say, yes, I believe in it, but why do they actually believe in it? Why do they actually truly think that what you have to offer can help them and they can succeed with? So that knocks 2 things out of the park. And then they say, oh yeah, it's just that I think it's because of the accountability, that was the best part, and whatever they say. And then you just be like, okay, no problem. So when you do go and talk to your wife or husband or business partner, like, do you feel she would want you to learn XYZ to be able to accomplish XYZ result to help you and the family? So what I'm basically trying to say here is, and again, this is Bill Walsh's, shout out him. not my script, but I want to break it down for you so you see how it's like in real life. So, okay, no problem. When you go and speak to them, so you're basically saying, so when you speak to your business partner or your wife, do you think they'd support you? Do you think they'd want you to learn? Let's go. I keep saying the weight loss example, but it's easy, so let's just go with it. Do you think she'd want you to learn how to lose weight so you can accomplish XYZ, so you can accomplish losing 35 pounds to help you and the family? And provided you've done the previous sales framework right, it's going to be very easy. It's just 5 meters away from the goal, basically. So that's what you're asking. Do you think they'd want you to learn this stuff so you can do XYZ? And then they say, of course. Otherwise, they're probably not going to be they're probably not a very supportive partner. And then you say, okay, then why do you think so justifying, why do you think they'd want you to learn this? Why do you think he or she would want you to go and do this? And then they say, oh, because, I've been trying to lose weight for a while. She knows I've been struggling, but I just can't seem to crack the code. And then everything that you have to offer just seems really good and it makes sense. So I think if I were to take that leap, then she'd want me to go and do this, especially if I'm this close to hopping on. So something like that. And then you say, yeah, perfect. So when you go to your partner, what do you feel would be the potential obstacle that would probably hold you guys back from taking action on something like this? So you're basically isolating again. You're basically finding out, okay, what is the actual thing they're hung up on that is just stopping them from making that no-brainer leap. And they just tell you. That's a great way of getting them to tell you. So it could be a bunch of things. It could be, oh, it's just the finances, I need to run it through with her. It could be conviction a bit, because they can be like, yeah, I mean, I'm on board with this personally, but I just need to show my wife this, make sure they're on board as well. So it could be that as well. What does this say? So gotcha. So gotcha. So when you do go to your wife to talk about this, what do you feel is coming up that you guys would want to? So this is just another way of saying it. If this is just another way of saying it, you just say so what do you feel is coming up that you guys would want to sit on and speak on before being in a position to move forward? So that's just another way of saying it. Or if they're running around in circles, if they keep saying, oh, we just need to think about it, you just repeat this, but just say it in a different way. So you'd be like, yeah, gotcha. So what do you feel actually though is coming up for you guys that you'd want to speak about before being in a position to move forward? So your goal here in this last bit is to simply isolate what the actual underlying reason is as to why they don't want to move forward. Because if the wife supports them, if they'd want you to do XYZ for XYZ reasons, there's no reason why they wouldn't want them to move forward. So you're basically trying to pull it out of them in a very good way so you can handle that objection. So if it's finances, you handle finances. If it's fear, then you handle fear, which is what we're going to go over next. And then again, this is just another way of saying it. So let's just say I've just got to run it by him or her. Gotcha. So what's coming up for you that you want to run by them? I put here, if it's a valid answer, if it's logistically a valid answer, most of the time it's going to be a finance, it's going to be a finance thing, or maybe you've tried to do this a couple of times and you tried twisting their arm a bit, but they just won't budge. They feel like they just really need to speak to their partner about it. Then just be like, okay, offer to book a follow-up call. And then you want to get them. This is another way you can handle the objection. Hopefully you've been recording the call. So by the time we're at this stage, you offer to book a follow-up call. You send the call recording to that person, and you get them and their partner to sit down together and watch the whole thing, so that they're caught up on what you've been talking about. And so when it comes time to hopping on another call, on the follow-up call, they're in a buying state, ready to buy. So you want them and the partner to watch it before the follow-up, so everyone's on the same page. Make it non-negotiable. Exactly. Because what could happen is, and this has happened for friends I know before, it sucks. The prospect will be on board 100%, but then the partner who hasn't watched the recording and is not on the same page, they're probably only at 50-60% conviction, and then now everyone's fighting with each other in a way to make a decision, and this just ends up being very messy. So you want the other person to be on the same page, so that's why you get them to watch the call recording, and that's why you record your calls always, not just for call reviews, but for utility too. So I hope that makes sense. Rewatch it a couple times if you're not sure. Partner objection handling, super simple. Well, simple, we'll see, but it's all about how you practice it and the tonality. Again, one more time, I'll run it through you. You just want to isolate it, make sure that they actually believe in what you sell, make sure the conviction's there, get them to self-justify why it'd be a good move to move forward. And then you say this line. When you go and speak to them, do you think they'd want you to learn? Like, do you think they'd want to support you in your journey to help achieve XYZ? Why do they want to do it? What do you feel is holding you back from actually making that next step? And then you handle it from there. Now let's get to the fear objection. This is quite a long one, so bear with me. We start off with, we're going to start off with this. So let's say sometimes sometimes they'll just come out the gate with the fear objection, but sometimes you've dug deeper and deeper, you've handled these surface level objections, and you've arrived at fear. So the first one, as always, is you want to isolate it. You want to confirm. So for example, this is for the investment, this is for finances. So you can just be like, if they have the finances, you just confirm it with them. So would it be safe to say that you have the investment, but is it literally just a case of figuring out what to do? Or you could say, would it be fair to say you're just looking for a bit more certainty? So you call out the elephant in the room. And then once you find out it's just fear, all the other objections have been handled, we can make it work and proceed. So fear should ideally be the last sort of objection that you handle. You want to handle all the money ones first if it comes up, the time one, the think about it one, the fit one. Handle all of those before you get to fear, because fear is the deepest level. It is self-avoidance. It is just them versus them. Everything else has been kind of circumstantial. It's kind of been my circumstances. They're blaming it on their lack of money. They're blaming on lack of time. Here, if you've narrowed it down, if they're kind of backed into a corner and they know they have to make a decision, but they're just afraid of doing it, then you have to have that talk with them. So this is why there's a couple steps to this. So you should be like, so now, so we've come to the agreement a few times that you feel this will work, right? Assuming you've done that in the script or in the framework. And you'll be like, yeah, 100%. And then you say, but on the other side of this, if you don't do it, like, how will you ever know if it's going to work or not? Like, let's say you're just at a foot of a bridge. And then here I put current situation, unsatisfied, whatever the current situation was. Jesus Christ. Whatever the current situation was, you just list out everything that they said beforehand. So you're going to be at current situation, you're overweight, you're unsatisfied with your relationship, XYZ again for that weight loss example. So let's say you're at a foot of a bridge, and on the other side, it's future, say their name was Joe, future Joe at North Star. So, lost 35 pounds, satisfied with his relationship, spending time with the family, etc. Everything that they said they wanted. Let's say that's on the other side of the bridge. And all we have to do to get closer to future Joe is to literally take that first step. And us humans, we make decisions based on two things. We either run towards pleasure or away from pain. So let me ask you a better question. Are you willing to do every single thing needed to make sure it works for you? But most importantly, your family, your future, so you can get to XYZ goal and do XYZ. So I was reading off a script, I can't lie. I was very scripted with this. Because I haven't revisited this in a long time, but just for the sake of the video, I'm gonna be very scripted with this. So we just pull out the elephant in the room, give an analogy about a bridge. Let's say they're at the foot of it. Their desired situation is on the other side, but they'll never know what it feels like to be there if they don't even make the first step of crossing it. And then you say how we make decisions based on two things, rather than towards pleasure and away from pain. And you get some commitment down. You say, are you willing to do every single thing needed to make sure it works for you? And then XYZ. You can read that. And they'll say, yeah, of course. Especially at this stage, they're very primed to buy, but it's just that last stepping stone. So what would happen if you knew all you had to do was show up and take the first step, while the team and we make sure you have everything you need to be able to successfully cross that bridge? Because all you have to do is take the first step. And so in brackets, this is talking about you and your program. You're basically saying, like, what would happen if all you knew you had to do was be consistent and show up, while we give you all the resources, we give you all the accountability, all the help needed to make sure you successfully cross on the other side? Of course they'll say yes. So it's a no-brainer. Because the real question is, if you had all of that, like, would you do it? If you had all the support, if you had everything you needed to get to that other side of the bridge, that future Joe who's lost weight, who's had a better relationship with their family, would they actually do it? Now, if they say no, then probably just end the call, because why are they on the call then? But most of the time they'll say yes. So we're overcoming the person here, not the objection. Will they actually go and do it or not? They'll say yes, and just be like, but how will you ever know if you don't even commit to yourself first? How will you ever know if you don't even make that first step, if you don't even do it? Right? So we come together and push together, and I'm with you every step of the way. I know it's scary, it's hard, and it's supposed to be, because if it wasn't, then why would it matter? We wouldn't be on this call today in the first place if it didn't matter, right? You had a problem, and you want to see if you could fix it, and then throw in some humor if you want. A good thing you can do here is provide a personal story and another anecdote. So you can talk about how when you first invested in a program, when you first spent $1,000 into a coaching program, you had that uncertainty too. You can definitely relate with them, but you knew this was the right decision deep down, and you were more scared of the regret of not doing it compared to doing it. So if you had that sort of similar experience, then go ahead and tell them, because it shows you're in the same page and you're truly listening and you're truly there for them, which is what you should be anyway. So we say something like this: either come together and push together. I'm with you every step of the way. Like, I know it's scary, it's hard, but if it wasn't, why would it matter? So we need to put that line in the sand, and we need to go all in. And you can even provide another perspective. You can even say, like, I mean, think about it, Joe. Like, how would you feel future Joe would make the decision? How do you feel the person on the other side would make that decision, the best version of yourself? Like, what would he do here? And they'd probably say they'd invest. They'd make the move they know they needed to make. And then the last thing here is just getting them to move forward. It's that last 5 meters. You're right in front of the goal. You are about to put the golf ball in. So you just say, so what do you want to do from here? So what do you want to do from here? And it's probably not going to go and think about it, right? And ease some tension. You could be a bit humorous with this. Because at that point, it's a very tense state, and you don't want that to happen. You want to ease the tension a bit, wink, smile, whatever you need to do, throw in some humor, and then hopefully they should close, because now you've shown them if all they needed to do was take that first step, while you give them all the resources, you give them everything they need to get successful, to cross over that other side of the bridge. It's just a case of if they actually want to do it or not. So I hope that made sense. That's the fear objection handle. This could be a lot simpler, but this has been the best way of handling the fear, in my opinion, just from what I've seen. If you have any alternatives of how to handle these two objections, then by all means comment it down below or DM me, and I can make a revised video. But those are the fear and the partner objection handling, the two longest ones for sure. This is going to wrap up the 3-part series of the sales framework. This is literally what we use too. So we're not just pulling this out of our ass. This is literally the framework that we use, the objection handles that we use in our company. So you know it works. Should I show this? You can read this. This is some notes. So we've gone over it in the last couple of videos. 3 types of objections. The general framework of how to handle objections. You want to disarm them, make sure you ease the tension a bit, isolate, and then handle accordingly. Our job is to not make the person say yes. Our job is to ask the right questions so that the prospect wants to say yes, to build them the courage to say yes. Shitty salespeople want to overcome objections so they get paid. Elite sales professionals overcome objections so they can lead the prospect to a better life. So just some notes from Bill Walsh's material. Some mindset shifts to think about and to make when you go about and close the person, when you go about doing this sales framework. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. This was a ton of fun, this 3-part series, and hopefully this framework helps you close more deals and makes you less nervous when an objection arises, because a lot of people can get hung up on it. And I've been on the other side too. I've been on the other side of throwing objections myself, And then on the other side of it, actually taking calls myself and having to deal with objections and being nervous, not knowing what to do, palms sweaty, stuff like that. But hopefully that gave you some clarity. That'll wrap up at the 3-part series of today, the fear and the partner objection. If you like this video, if you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, and comment down below what other content you'd like me to post. So take it easy. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and share this with a friend who's probably getting into sales as well. So help a friend out, help me out, because I've helped you out. But anyways, see you later. I'm gonna stop rambling. Take it easy.